In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to get rid of those bad habits that we all have. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Just in the Know podcast, where we make knowledge your strongest weapon.
Welcome back to the show, folks. As always, it's a pleasure to have you guys here. If you don't know, Nas over here, my boy Just over here. Are you ready to get rolling?
Yeah, I know in life, we always got something that's holding us down. It's like, yeah, I know you want to do great, but I know you want to do this thing too. And in the last episode, we were talking a little bit about temptations, and we all got them. So today, we're going to be talking about those bad habits. We all got them. We all have them. It don't matter what walk of life we have, is some type of bad habits. Now, whatever tolerance you may have to, indulge in them is different between all of us. But we all have bad habits, something that we want to get rid of, but we deep down it's like, I really want to do it. And sometimes you gotta understand it, and we know that we have bad habits, and we're here to help you and help ourselves to limit those bad habits.
Yeah, so also I do want to talk about there's different types of effects bad habits have on us. For example, some of them may have physical effects on us. Some of them may have financial effects on us. Some of them may have mental effects on us. I could start off with myself by saying one of the bad habits I've been working on, and it's still a work in progress, but there was definitely a good period, a sizable period of my life where I wasn't paying no mind to this, and it was creating a lot of unnecessary stress for my own self, within my own self, without anybody maybe being able to pick up on it. And that bad habit is engaging in conversation with people who are not capable of understanding what the hell it is that you're saying. And I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. It just, we've all been in a situation where, or realized at a moment in time that this person from my friend group I could have any sort of conversation with. This person I could only have these specific types of conversation with. So it's been something that I'm working on in terms of being able to really gauge who I'm speaking to and know when it's worth diving deep into a conversation, when I should just fall back, keep it at a surface level, when I shouldn't engage in conversation at all with them and that specific subject. For example, give you a perfect one. At least in the US, we practice this, tactic, I guess, conversation tactic, where don't speak about religion or finances. I got friends I could speak about that stuff with just completely, openly, without any stress, without any feeling of, I might hurt their feelings or might trigger them. And then there's the people who, even if they wanted to engage in that specific conversation, I know not to. I know better than to engage. So that's something I've been working on myself in terms of, just knowing when to speak, when to stay silent. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, honestly, I would say, not to say that, I'm trying to be the same person, but I kind of have a similar bad habit too. I openly always want to help people, and I try to put myself in terms so that people could better understand that, this is not something that's out there. Like, this is me, I'm living the life. But I try to tend to put myself in situations to better help somebody else understand, to my detriment sometimes. Like, I'll personally give out a story for me or something that's currently happening inside of my life to better give a picture on the situation and what we're talking about. Like, I try to tell somebody, for example, right? Say if, I do X amount of something, or I get to a certain goal. I don't gatekeep. And honestly, we should. We should gatekeep, but not really. I per se don't want to do that, but you never know somebody's true intentions. So I have to learn to not be so open. That's one of my bad habits, of being so open, and I won't say trusting, but more so I'm glad to help everyone without a second thought. Sometimes I gotta think about that because it you never know what people's true intentions is towards you.
Hey, listen, I've been a big proponent of giving free game, just like yourself. Not gonna lie, I kind of cut that shit out as of recent, and not like completely where I just closed the door on that. It's just I'm very selective. So I think for them to click to understand you a little bit more, it's not that he think he should gatekeep. He just thinks he should be selective with who to share and who not to share. And we could all take from that because we all know, or if you don't know, hopefully you will sooner rather than later. A private life is a happy life, way better than a public one. And that can apply to a lot of things. And one of the things that applies to is sharing information to the wrong ears, whether it's, in terms of career things, life things, personal things, all those things, you got to be really selective of who you share it with. So, it's a habit that you have. And what he's doing is identifying it. And hopefully you could do that with your own self. And what I want to ask is, aside from that specific habit in general,
Mm-hmm.
for you, what is, I guess, your approach in breaking a bad habit, whether it's physical, financial, whatever it is, any type of habit? Like, what's the starting point after? Okay, we identified a habit. Now what?
Okay. So with breaking a bad habit, and we're gonna go this in steps because there's always steps to breaking apart a bad habit because it just doesn't come one day like, oh, I'm done. I'm not gonna do this anymore. It doesn't happen like that. You're gonna eventually
Relapse.
relapse and
Cold turkey
dive
don't
in.
work.
Yeah, it don't. It don't at all. So the first thing that you would do to break a bad habit is to be aware that you have one. Because most people, they never even acknowledge that they have the habit or not even aware that they do have it. So you can't want to fix something if you don't know what the problem is. So first things first is to be aware of your bad habit. Be aware of how much it's occurring in your life, and to be aware to be able to put in the effort to take the right and necessary steps to break that bad habit.
Yeah. For me, I think breaking a bad habit, a big part of it that is often overlooked is honestly habits really, they don't just disappear. You just change it to something else. You're never gonna be able to just get rid of a habit, a tendency you have that's, bringing negativity or slowing you down or setting you back in life without replacing it. And what you want to do, of course, is you don't want to replace it with another bad habit. Replace it with something good.
Something good.
So, let's say you have a gambling habit, replace that gambling habit. And boy, do I know people with bad gambling habits. If they could just find something that gives them that similar feeling, but for the right reasons, and it's actually productive, I'm sure they would be a lot better off. But, a lot of people, they don't have that courage to finally snap out. They'll find every which way to justify a bad habit that they have. And part of this is me speaking personally and generally. I'm not gonna go too deep into that. But yeah, you wanna be mindful of the need of replacing it. It doesn't just stop at, okay, it's a habit that I've deaded. No, the best way to not go back to it is to find something in place of it. So if you spend a lot of time playing games, spend a lot of time reading. Instead, you're not just gonna stop playing games and now you have all that time to stare at the wall. That's not how it works. You're gonna end up playing games again if you realize, okay, I stopped. Now what? Nah, you gotta immediately fill that void, fill that gap, replace it, substitute it with something that's gonna add value to your life. Bring some fulfillment, some substance to your life.
Yeah, and in a form of substitution too. You got to fill that void. You have to fill that void with something, or you're just gonna go right back into what you were doing before. Now, on the term of gambling, right? Now, with gamblers, let's see, right? It's a risk involved. It's something that you get with the risk that's involved with it, right? So to replace it with something that's is good in the same kind of sense, right? And you got to do this with most parts of your life. Say if the person likes to gamble, of course, money, whatever, right? You change it to something good, which is like investing into stocks. Stocks is a bit of a risk, right? It's not as glorifying, or it's not doesn't make you feel as good when you know hit very big, but more so you are investing, you're taking a risk, just like it's a gamble sometimes. It really is a gamble, but it's an educated one too, right? So you would invest into something else, invest into a company, and then in the long term, it'll help you out, of course. And that will get rid of one of the bad habits that you have. Same thing with, let's say, eating bad, because that's something that's going to pertain to a lot of people, right? Now with eating bad, you just have to substitute those things that gave you like a, I guess, a dopamine effect and make you like, feel good about yourself for the time being. Replace it with things that are a healthy choice. That is a way to, stop eating, which is eating bad, which is the bad habit. You replace it with good foods that give you somewhat of the same type of feeling that you have when you were indulging in the bad habit. Because when it comes to bad habits, the ones that you replace it, especially starting out, it's not going to feel as good. Probably nowhere near as good until you do it through repetition, and then you forget that you even have the bad habit in the first place, and then you replace that with a good habit.
Yeah, I like the fact that you mentioned that because you're definitely not gonna reap the benefits mentally, emotionally, physically. Any of those things aren't gonna be felt immediately, but for the long game, you're definitely gonna wanna encourage yourself to stay the course because when you do feel better, for example, the food example, you use the diet example, eating healthy versus eating unhealthy. Um, in the long term, when you're 45 years old and you feel a lot better about yourself physically than your 45-year-old counterparts, your fellow 45-year-olders, then you're gonna start, acknowledging like, damn, okay, so me cutting off that bad food at a young age actually did some good for me. And some of them you might actually never feel, because feeling is, it's a fleeting thing. Being able to feel something is a fleeting, emotions. Like everybody's gonna feel it on their own time at their own pace, but you have to, also in our last episode we were talking about, determination. You got to be determined to cut that bad habit and
Mhm.
determined to stay the course of that good habit, and pat yourself on the back along the way. Especially, bro, eating healthy food honestly has, to me at least, has instant gratification. And when I say healthy, I'm not talking about like you trying to build a massive body. I'm just talking about clean, healthy food that's not filled with things that bring your, that crash your blood sugar levels, that bring your mood down, that make you develop unnecessary health issues at a young age. Just clean eating. You don't got to be necessarily in shape, even though a good diet will eventually lead to that. But you get the point. It'll bring instant gratification when you realize like, okay, I'm feeding my body the right clean things. Like, at least for me, I could say for me that's instant gratification.
Yeah, no. And also when it comes to breaking a bad habit too, I would say just like you said, gotta be on top of it. Gotta have that determination. Consistency. Gotta be consistent. Because it took time for you to build that bad habit. Because habits have to be formed. You're not gonna just start out today like, oh, I'm gonna consistently go punch people in the face. You know what I'm saying?
Anger issue is a habit in a way.
In a way, right? You have to take time to build that habit. So you also have to take time to building good habits. And I don't know, I'm don't quote me on this. Don't might come for me in the comments with this one. But
They coming for you anyway, bro.
I might be wrong, but I might be right too. I think it takes 21 days to actually form and build a habit. 21 days. So that's about 9 days short from an entire month. So
It's not that long.
it's not that long. And 1 month is not that long. So be consistent every single day on trying to get better at, building good habits and or breaking down bad habits. And then continuously just be on top of yourself and be determined on fixing and keeping good habits.
And also, I do want to say, breaking a bad habit requires you to realize that one, it's not going to be easy, and two, it's okay to need help, even with not necessarily asking somebody for help or going to an institution per se. What I'm saying is like, let's say family support. That's a big one. You know, you're still living at home with your family. If you're about to indulge in a bad habit, maybe find a way to have one of them distract you from it. You know, you kind of initiate the whole thing without necessarily telling them like, "Oh yeah, I've been working on cutting this bad habit. Could you help me?" You don't have to put yourself in that vulnerable position, I guess, or make yourself feel weak. But what you could do is maybe just start a random conversation with somebody in the house, or maybe ask them to, yo, you want to go get something to eat? Spend 2 hours, the next 2 hours, whatever you were about to do. Now delay it, and then delay it again, and then delay it again, and then eventually, if that 21-day thing is accurate, hopefully you delayed it for that long of a time, that long of a period, that eventually you kicked it. That's all it really comes down to, is you keep pushing it back. You find a little excuse why not to do it, even if it's the smallest of excuses. And it's for good reason. It's not like you're just bullshitting. No, you're
Yeah,
trying to kick a bad habit. Like, okay, I'm not going to do this because I'm going to do this instead. And you just keep delaying it and delaying it and delaying it. And then before you know it, now you're not even thinking about it. And of course, it's not easy. It's not the most pleasant of experiences. Me being a smoker, cigarette smoker, that's a habit that I really, really want to kick. And I know I'm gonna have to face the fact and come to terms with it. I'm gonna have to go through my little nicotine withdrawal. And for those people who vape, I hope you know, or at least it's my personal opinion from what I see, but all my friends who vape, I think they're having a lot more issues in terms of health scares than I am as a cigarette smoker. So for those of you who vape, work on that shit too, because it's a scary road that we're all going
Yeah.
and traveling on.
I would say about vapes too. You know what it is, and this is about habits. So don't say I'm going way too off topic because this is a habit a lot of people have. Um, Vaping and cigarette smoking. Cigarettes, you kind of really have to smoke outside or in an area where you can smoke. Vapes, you could do it literally anywhere. So of course, you're gonna be taking in more nicotine than the average cigarette smoker, depending on how much you use it or whatever. So when it comes to breaking a bad habit, you can't just stop, right? You gotta slowly come to terms with yourself, understand that you have that habit, and then try to day by day try to indulge in it less and less to where it does not mean too much to you or to where it doesn't mean anything to you, honestly. And once you do it, that's actually the cleaner way to breaking a habit instead of just I'm done. Because most people who say, "All right, I'm not gonna eat this food anymore." It's gonna be that one day where you're stressed out and you're like, "Oh, I need some type of something to calm me down or whatever." You're going right to the ice cream. Or, man, I'm stressed out from this, going right to a piece of cake. You know what I'm saying? And most people, especially with thinkers, and this is something that I have a problem with myself, I'm a person that likes sweets. All right. I love sweets. And that's because I think a lot all the time. And for scientific purposes, people who think usually like sweets. And that's something I didn't know.
Yeah, that's an interesting fact. I'm not gonna lie. So for me, I like what you said about there's gonna come that day where you're like, all right, I'm having a bad day. Let me just go eat this piece of cake. So in that time, and of course, it all comes down to you from within. You gotta be dedicated. You gotta be focused. You gotta be determined. You gotta be disciplined. All that good stuff. Um, in that time, in that moment where you get a little bit weak, and you're like, yo, I'm gonna just go eat a cake to calm down, or I'm gonna go smoke a cigarette, or I'm gonna go vape, or whatever it is that is a bad habit. You have to, on the spot, find something else. So instead of eating that piece of cake, Maybe go make a healthy smoothie that tastes good, has a little bit of sugar in it. You know, not a complete, not a smoothie or a substitute that's completely um, different than what it is that you're used to, but it's a little bit less. And then slowly, you're waning off of it slowly. You can't just cut it out. You're not just gonna go from a pack a day cigarette smoker to the rest of your life. You're never gonna touch it. Nah, it gotta have a little bit of
It's in
process.
time.
You gotta have its little, waning off. You might end up going through a pack every 3 days for the next 3 months, and then a pack every week for the next 3 months, and then boom,
You're done.
after even though it shouldn't, hopefully it doesn't take that long with me. Um, hopefully. Anyway, that's important. In that moment where you feel a little bit weak and you're about to give in to that bad habit, to that temptation, to that reoccurring, uh, satisfaction that you get from that, you have to immediately. That's the most important part. Once you're about to falter and you're about to give in to that, you got to find something to substitute it, to replace it, to keep you away from that. And going back to what I said before, to delay it. All right, next time I'll do it. Instead of eating the piece of cake today, I'll eat one tomorrow. And then tomorrow you'll find another excuse not to eat the piece of cake. And then you do that a couple times, and before you know it, you don't have a bad habit of indulging in unhealthy foods at night after a long day of work, where you're just tearing your body up.
Now, honestly, there's something that I've been trying to. I mean, you said that you could find something else as a substitute. I try to like, cause I'm a very big person on self talk. Like they always say that people who talk to themselves are crazy, but
I'm crazy.
I'm crazy. All right, you can label me whatever you want, but whatever works for me works for me. But to most people, well, not to most people, to the ones that do talk to themselves and guide themselves through their own self, motivate themselves, right? Please, 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 when instead of substituting, right, which is a good thing, but learn to talk to yourself and tell yourself the bad things about what you're about to do. So usually, right? All right, I have a goal to reach, right? Usually, say if I want to get abs, right? When I'm about to go eat that slice of cake, I'm not gonna get a six pack with eating that. I'm gonna just further, have a gut. Or if let's say I wanna go work out and get to my top physique or whatever. When I go sit down on the game, I could be doing something else more productive that's gonna help me. Like, oh, let me find out what workouts may work or whatever have you. That's not helping me get to my end goal. So every time that you're about to do something bad, just tell yourself why it's bad, and is it worth it? Is it worth doing this one thing right now to delay the inevitable for you to get your goal, or do you want to cut it altogether? Because you do it once, you'll do it twice. Do it twice, you do it for 3 months. Okay? So think of that every single time that you do it. Every time that you do it, like, oh, I know I'm not supposed to be doing this. If I do it right now, I'm gonna be doing it for the rest of my life. You gotta think that extreme sometimes to really like tell yourself like I shouldn't be doing this right now.
Yeah, I like what you said about the talking to yourself thing. And the way I understood it, at least, is actually talk to yourself out loud, not just think. I'm pretty sure that's what you were trying to say, but to maybe to relate to a little bit other people who didn't understand what you were saying. Talk to yourself out loud, verbalize it. The thought that you're having, don't just brush it aside. Nah, it, there's the devil. The devil on your left, the angel on your right. So you let the devil on your left speak. You let the angel on your right speak, and then if they both have spoken. And obviously, when I say that, I'm talking about you yourself. You're giving yourself the positive, the pros, and the cons out loud. It'll be pretty easy to actually, you know, not indulge, or to delay it to the next day, or to, to feel good and confident in your decision to not indulge. That you need to be your number one supporter out loud. You know what I'm saying? Like, talk to yourself in as crazy of a way as possible. Listen, if being a nut, being labeled crazy, you need help, is gonna help you kick bad habits,
Then do it.
then just do it. Be crazy. You know what I'm saying? Because listen, if you ask me, all these people who aren't crazy, boy, they lost. So I'm fine with being crazy and found instead of being lost and normal, I guess.
Yeah.
That's-
I mean,
The new normal is just
let's
being an airhead and just going about life without paying attention to any of the actions, the course of actions you're pursuing. Just be an airhead and just go about. Don't worry too much. Don't think about it too much. I'm not one of those people. Hopefully, you're not one of those people, and I know damn sure you're not one of those people.
at all. So listen, this is gonna be my little tangent, right? Because I like I said a couple of episodes. I like to read. I like to read about a lot of successful people because of course, I would love to be successful eventually.
We getting there.
We getting there day by day.
Work in progress.
Break your habits day by day. The people who are successful in this world have very good habits, very successful habits. And the thing that links between all of them and what makes them similar is the discipline that they have towards their habits. And when I say extreme discipline, I mean extreme discipline. And to the outside world, it's like, yo, you're crazy. Like, there's no way that I'm gonna be that serious towards something. Like, all right, let's say for military, for example, right? Most people in the military that are in the force, they're physically fit. But it takes discipline to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go run 6 to 8 miles.
Yeah.
For most people, like, oh, I could go do a mile. Now I'm doing 8. That's discipline. But you have to have discipline to build a habit for you to be able to continue to have those good habits. You got to have discipline. Because any which way that you decide to kick a bad habit, bring in a good one, and don't apply discipline to it, you're going to go right back to the bad habit eventually.
Yeah, I do want to mention. Okay, so you said something about successful people having, successful habits that bring good results that lead to good quality, high quality of life. And there's gonna be people out there who confuse the fact that there's very successful people who have vices, but they're not habits. There's a difference. A habit is something you really, really can't stay away from too long, or you're continually, I would define it at least on a day-to-day thing.
Yeah.
Like if there's a successful person who has an insane gambling session once every month or two, that's not the same as gambling every single day.
Every day.
You know what I'm saying? That one is a vice, one is a habit. Okay, so don't get that twisted. So nobody is a complete, perfect individual without any flaws or without any, things that are setting them back. We're all gonna have little vices and little, kinks in our life that aren't gonna be for the greater good. They're gonna be to our detriment. But when it's controlled and it's not a habit and it doesn't control you, you control it. Somebody controlling how often they gamble is different than the gambling controlling how often somebody gambles. You know what I'm saying? There's a huge difference. Don't let it control you. You control it. If you eat ice cream once every 2 months, it's way different than a person who I gotta dive
Every
into
day.
a bucket of ice cream every day.
Every day.
There's a huge difference. One's a habit, one's a vice, or a pastime that they indulge in every so often or every now and then, however you want to categorize it as. So, yeah, don't get it twisted. There's a bunch of successful people with major vices that, yeah, sure, they might be better off without, but shit, you gotta
put a balance somewhere.
Yeah, you gotta, lay back a little bit. You gotta take your foot off the gas at sometimes you can't be full throttle all
the time.
year, every year, year in, year out, day to day. Like, that's not how it works.
Yeah. I mean, you can do that, but
You'll crash so much, so
Nah,
fast.
I'm not saying like continuously. Like, say, all right, I gotta go hard for 3 years. Like for a fact that you gotta go hard for 3 years, and then you relax. You know that you're going to relax after that. Then
Yeah.
But if you go on to like, all right, I'm gonna just keep going 100%, 100% without no like I'm gonna stop in mind,
Yeah.
like there's no
There's no stop. Yeah.
definite date that I'm gonna stop, then of course you're gonna it's gonna be like that one day was like everything is just not going your way whatsoever.
Man.
And then it's just like, oh, I'm gonna go eat this cake. Oh, I'm gonna go smoke. Oh, and it's just going to just unravel.
It's like instead of saying I'm gonna run 3, 4, 5 miles today, I'm gonna just run till I can't no more. Like you definitely don't want to do that.
Nah, you
So,
can't. You can't at all.
You listen, if you're gonna get an 8 mile run in this morning and you're gonna need 2 breaks to get the 8 mile run in, take those 2 breaks. Matter of fact, take 3. You know what I'm saying? Just make sure you got your priorities straight. Make sure you're working on making a good habit more part of your life and substituting the bad habit with the good habit. And at least for me, I'm not much of a person who looks to other people or looks for other people's support when I'm whatever I'm doing, whether it's personal or my business life, my career life, whatever, my financial life, my financial affairs. I don't look for other people necessarily, but put your pride to the side for a little bit, and if you really think that somebody being there for you or being there with you or you know bringing somebody into your process of kicking a bad habit is actually going to help you, then so be it. There's nothing like shameful in that. There's no shame in that. Like for example, I could go to him and tell him like, yo, bro, I've been working on not doing something, and I won't feel one bit of shame in like, oh, he's gonna see it this way, or he's gonna understand this way, or oh, he's gonna think I'm weak. So you gotta find somebody that you trust, that you confide in, you can confide in very comfortably, and maybe it's worth letting them know, like, yo, I've been working on doing this, so maybe keep me in check from time to time. That's something that you could do. And it
Of
doesn't
course.
have to be with every bad habit, but the ones that you're really having trouble with, that you feel like it's worth bringing somebody aboard, then do so. Proceed to do so.
Yeah, have that
it-
accountability partner.
we're not gonna. I'm not trying to. At least for me, I'm not trying to preach that everything is a one man show. Actually, I'm completely against that. I don't think you could do much. I don't think you could get far in this life by yourself. So there's never no shame in asking a loved one, a person that you respect, you trust, whatever, to help you. Just even if it's very slightly, to help you break your bad habit. There's no shame in that.
Yeah. And I would say, please be intentional on the end goal. As we say on this channel, making knowledge your strongest weapon. You have to know that to be aware, to break your bad habit. You have to be intentional. Wanting to break your bad habit, you have to be consistent to try every day to break that bad habit. And you got to have the patience to be able to, regardless of whatever happens in your life, to break that bad habit. And every single day, put this inside of your head if you didn't take anything else from this episode. Start today,
Not tomorrow.
not tomorrow, not next week, not next month because it suits you. Things that are worth it in this life are the most uncomfortable. So you need to start today, and you need to take it day by day when it comes to breaking a bad habit and to form a good habit.
Yeah. Listen, if you don't got nobody to tell about your bad habit, you could tell us in the comments. I might give you a bullshit answer, but at least you could tell me, I might not be able to help you too much, but I don't mind. We're trying to build a little community here where we uplift one another. And I always try to remind myself, my boy Just, and of course the viewers, that every day is a battle, every day is a fight, and we're here to give each other that encouragement, that reassurance of like, you're doing it for the greater good. So with that being said, I'm still doing it. I ain't get to where I want to go. I might never get to where I want to go, to be honest with you. Because anyway, let's not talk about that. Share with us in the comments. Let us know, and we'll give you feedback or share some encouraging words. And hopefully, if it means that much to you, like he said, for you to kick that habit, start today, not tomorrow. Because if you find a way to tell yourself, I'm going to start later and not immediately, then you probably haven't even identified it that much of a bad habit. So you're not really that sincere and intentional in kicking it. So it's just going to have to wait. But if you really want to, start today.
Yes. So if you're actually intentional or actually aware of your bad habit and want to, get rid of it, comment down below. You never know. We could probably say some words down in the comments just to help you guys out in starting your journey on breaking your habit. And if you guys have been, here this long in this video, I would like to ask you guys to do us a favor, subscribe to the channel. And if you're listening to this on any of the podcasts, whether it be Spotify, Amazon Music, or Apple Podcasts, please give us a follow. We're just trying to help you guys while helping ourselves to become better people. And as we would say, we're not trying to win the war. We're just trying to become better warriors every single day. You know what I'm saying? So, guys, please be consistent in anything that you do. Please don't develop bad habits. Please kick those bad habits and be aware of them, please, and build good habits from them. This has been the Justin and No podcast, where we make knowledge your strongest weapon. Guys, have a great one.
It was a pleasure. Peace.